Morgan's brother from the documentary besides me heard that McDonald's food was nutritious. Well, if it's true, he must be able to eat it every day, and so he did. A month later, 3 doctors emphatically implored him to stop eating it because his liver was shutting down. In fact, it was killing him. Good afternoon, my name is Winnie Leung, and today I will be showing you that fast food not only causes obesity and cancers, but it also leads to premature death. Our second speaker, Mandy Chow, will also be showing you that these greedy fast food corporations are morally deficient. And our lovely and talented Katie Leung will be summing up our case. The motion today is straightforward. However, we need to understand what fast food is. Generally, fast food is already prepared and is traditionally fried or deep fried, and is often taken away. So, we're not talking about the packed lunch mom made for us today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time we quit cunning around with our food and start taking our diet seriously. So, who are we? According to the WHO, 1 billion of us are overweight and 300 million are obese, and obesity rates have doubled since the 1980s, including in China. And not surprisingly, so has fast food. Currently, McDonald's serves 65 million customers a day. That's 65 million people being served food that will ultimately make them sick. And according to the FDA, the overeating of fast food more than 2 times a week leads to serious illnesses, such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart and stroke diseases, and certain forms of cancers, such as breast and colon. In fact, 400,000 Americans die each year from these diseases, and these fatalities are the second most preventable deaths next to smoking. Again, obesity is the second biggest killer in Americans next to smoking. The FDA also warns us that obesity rates in children have more than doubled since the 1980s. Perhaps one of the most sobering statements came from the former U.S. Surgeon General, Richard Kamona, and I quote, "Because of the increasing rates of obesity, unhealthy eating habits, and physical inactivity, we may see the third generation that will be less healthy and have a shorter life than their parents." And why are these people dying? Because, and again, according to the FDA, your average fast food meal contains almost all the calories you need for the whole day. It's overloaded with trans fatty acids, cholesterol as well as salt and sugar. Did you know you got to work 7 hours to burn off a Big Mac meal? And so why should we care? This is Americans' problem, right? Wrong. McDonald's announced this year that Asia was the key to its growth, that it will aggressively increase the number of franchises in China. And sadly, Asia already has world faster growing obesity rates, as 2/3 of the world of diabetics according to the WHO. And all this for what? So corporate Americans can line their pockets with our money at the same time we line our artery, their deadly cholesterol. Ladies and gentlemen, we say the day have come for all of us to quit cutting around with our food and start taking our diet seriously. Thank you.
Adjudicated chairperson, teacher, and students, good afternoon. Today we are here to vindicate that fast food restaurants do not bring more harm than good. So, first of all, we think that fast food restaurants is not responsible for the harm, and also the convenience brought about is undeniable. First of all, I would like to talk about how people's choices affect the situation, and the second speaker will talk about the convenience, and the third speaker will round up all the arguments. So I would like to address health concern and also focus on the word brain in emotion. So actually, what brings the harm? Now it's time to awaken and not to deceive yourselves. I want to ask several questions. Don't we have a choice to choose which restaurant to eat in? And don't we have a choice to choose healthier food in fast food restaurants? Can't we avoid condiments that may add up the calorie level? In fact, fast food restaurants are just serving people's needs, with customers being the one who can make a choice. they are taking the active role by choosing to eat fast food. And so, actually, fast food restaurants are not at all responsible for the harm brought about, and instead, customers are at fault, especially when health information are actually provided, like the nutrition value and also what kind of content they contain. So we see that customers actually are willing to take in the food given that they know the health content. And actually, we can also enjoy healthy food in fast food restaurants. For example, we can have salad and also sweet corns, and we can have normal meals like pasta and also rice. And we can choose fruit juice instead of soft drinks, and we can also avoid condiments like ketchup and mayonnaise as they are optional. Fast food restaurants is in fact not really bringing much harm, as fast food can be not as unhealthy as we perceive. If we exercise a better control over fast food or also have a better lifestyle. A very good example would be the Chicago marathon runner Joe D'Amico. He had McDonald's food for his every meal for a month before his marathon competition, and in fact, after the period, he didn't have any weight gained, and his marathon result was 41 seconds faster than his previous record. So this proves that fast food can have no effect on our health status, but different people have different needs on food. So the main point is that we have to get a balanced fast food lifestyle. And also, fast food restaurants are also help promote the healthy diets. For example, in Fairwood, there are 0 monosodium glutamate dinner sets, and in Pizza Hut, thin and light pizzas are available. So people generally get to know more about food contents, and also they pay more attention to nutrition value when they choose their food. And so to conclude, fast food restaurants is not responsible for the harm, and also the convenience brought about is undeniable. And on the other hand, they also help promote healthier dinner, healthier food also. And at last, I want all of you to think about why fast food restaurants still stand that way nowadays. There must be some good points, and probably people think that good points actually surpass the disadvantages. And so my teammates will further explain the case. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The negative team is getting it all wrong today. They say it's convenience, but ask the 400,000 Americans who died last year because of diet-related disease, or the 1,500 Hong Kongers who died of colon cancer. Are the few minutes of convenience worth years of your life? They also say that it's about choice, but do children really have a choice? And anyway, shouldn't there be a warning labels on the food, like the ones we see on cigarettes? Then at least we can make an informed choice. Now, if I may, I'd like to return to our case. From the beginning, we have insisted that the time has come for us to quit clowning around with our food and start taking our diet seriously. But what also needs to be digested here today, ladies and gentlemen, is not just unhealthy food, but the unhealthy moral practices of the fast food corporations. So, let's start with the rubbish, shall we? Did you know that McDonald's used to serve their food on reusable plates and cups? But they stopped. And can you guess why? Of course you can. Money. By throwing away plates, cutlery, and cups, they can increase sales and reduce employees, and thus increase profit. And how much waste does the fast food industry generate? According to the EPA, the average Americans will produce roughly 800 pounds of fast food garbage per year. And how much waste is this? In the US, it's enough waste to fill 500,000 football fields, 6 feet high in trash each year. What a stink! And talking about stink, how would you feel about a tobacco company pushing cigarettes on your children? Or alcohol being glamorized on a TV cartoon network? Well, I guess we don't have to tell you where this is going. McDonald's targets young, innocent children. Full stop. And why do they target children? Because they, like the FDA, know all too well that most children's eating habits are formed between the ages of 3 to 5. We can all remember the smell of grandma's apple pies or mom's turkey dinner, right? But it isn't just about the smell and the taste. McDonald's brainwashes children. Are you ready? In 2007, Stanford University showed that most children prefer food that came out of a McDonald's bag rather than just a normal one. But get this, the food was exactly the same. So, food that comes out of a McDonald's bag always tastes better. And how about the toys? Did you know that more toys are given away by Ronald McDonald than Toys R Us? So, if you can't get them hooked on the food, just make it Christmas every day. And speaking of Christmas, did you know more children recognize Ronald McDonald than Jesus Christ? Not only are the fast food restaurants serving food that is killing us, they also have more practices that would turn the stomach of even the most staunch capitalist. We say, let's all quit clowning around with our food and stop taking our diets seriously. A famous Fortune 500 CEO once said, "Look after the customer and the business will take care of itself." Sadly, McDonald's has strayed from this principle. And oh, by the way, do you want to know who said that? Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. Thank you.
Adjudicators, chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. According to the affirmative side first speaker, Rainey, she just said that McDonald's, such as fast food, has increased the obesity rate and as well as the illness diabetes in the world. However, we do not agree with it because actually, according to the latest report from the Food Safety Center, it is stated that actually many food available in the current market are also unhealthy. Let's start with the trans fat content. For example, a coconut bun and a croissant can have 10 times to 19 times of the trans fat content of that of the McDonald's French fries. And for the saturated fat content, actually a 93 gram of coconut bun with cream can have 1.1 gram of saturated fat, more than that of McDonald's McNuggets. And for the cholesterol, actually a 130 gram of French croissants can have 5 grams of cholesterol, more than that of the pop chops provided by the fair food. So that it is unfair for us to blame the fast food for bringing unhealthy food and for causing obesity in the world. Actually, many food in the nowadays society also unhealthy to our health. And secondly, I'm going to talk about the illness diabetes. As they say that the fast food restaurant have caused the illness diabetes. However, I want to say that this kind of diseases will happen if we don't do exercise. So if we don't do exercise, no wonder we have these diseases. So I think it is so misleading for us to tell that argument because it's not the only privilege of the fast food shops. However, we cannot deny that fast food restaurants really provide advantages to the nowadays busy public. So firstly, fast food restaurants provide food which is really convenient to the general public. Living in such a fast-paced and busy city, eating fast is vital to our daily lives. According to the latest Robinson Telephone survey, it is found that Americans value convenience much more than their health. About 42% of Americans eat fast food at least once a week, while 12% eat 2 to 3 times a week. Among those who eat fast food, about half of them do so because of its convenience instead of its taste. So that when we eat in a fast food restaurant, we just need to wait for 5 to 10 minutes to get our food and then spend another minutes to finish the whole set of meal. When comparing with other normal restaurants, it is really much more convenient for us to eat in a fast food restaurant. So unlikely, some of fast food shops like McDonald's may not be known for providing some of the unhealthy food, such as French fries. However, it is not fresh news. If people have already known that fast food restaurants may not be as healthy as those homemade food, and they still eat them so often, can't we deduce that those people have already forgotten their health for convenience? Secondly, it is the market demand that drives the supply. Foreseeing the trend of the prior preference, many fast food restaurants emerge one by one eventually. In recent decades, there are more and more Chinese restaurants start fast food chains, and now fast food is not only the delicacy of the Western countries. Actually, many Chinese restaurants do start fast food chains such as Messing, Café de Coral, and Fairwood. And many Hong Kong people do have lunch in these eateries, and their market shares are so large that some of them can even go listed. So that it is only the demand that brings the supply, and it is unfair for us to blame for the supply only, because only with the supply and without the demand, it cannot stand. And thank you.
Good afternoon. Today our debate on fast food and the restaurant that serve it is drawing to a close. Our job today was simple. We had to decide whether or not fast food restaurants were causing more harm than good. And if you were only to look at the fact that the food was seriously damaging our health, you would have to agree with the motion. However, we looked beyond this and went on to say that the companies that sell it are morally deficient. But before I summarize our case, let me address a few spurious comments made by the negative team. Their first speaker said that McDonald's sells salads and corn, sweet corns, and some healthy food. Maybe they do, but you can't find it on their main board. You have to ask for the menu, so they're obviously not serious about selling healthy food. Anyway, a McDonald's salad has between 200 to 600 calories in it. Their first speaker and their second speaker said that fast food restaurants includes restaurants like Fairwoods and Café de Coral. If you say Café de Coral or Fairwoods in New York, no one will know what you are talking about. And the whole world knows McDonald's. And McDonald's accounts for 43% of the whole fast food industry. They say it isn't bad for you. Who are you going to believe? The former U.S. Surgeon General, the FDA, head of the WHO, Margaret Chan, or the negative team? Now, if I may, I'd like to summarize our case. From the beginning, we've urged you all today that we need to stop clowning around with our food and start taking our diet seriously. Our first speaker focused primarily on just how unhealthy the food was. She clearly defined the motion and stated that if we didn't talk about McDonald's, then we'd be missing the point of this debate today. She told us that 1 billion of us are overweight, and 300 million are obese. And obesity rates since the 1980s has doubled, and the number of McDonald's restaurants have tripled. We went from 10,000 restaurants in the 80s to over 30,000 today. And even they claim to feed 65 million people a day. 65 million people being fed food that will ultimately make them sick. And what kind of sicknesses? According to the FDA, they included diabetes, heart and stroke disease, as well as cancers such as colon and breast. In fact, these illnesses are killing 400,000 Americans per year. The second most preventable death next to smoking. And speaking of death, former U.S. Surgeon General Richard Carmona gave us all a stark warning. Today's children will be less healthy as well as have shorter lives than their parents. She went on to explain that the average meal had tremendous amounts of trans fatty acids, copious amounts of cholesterol, scads of sodium and sugar. In fact, there are so many calories that the average person has to walk about 7 hours to work it off. And this wasn't just America's problem, as McDonald's announced this spring that they will be aggressively expanding in China. Our second speaker, Mandy Chow, said that fast food restaurants do more harm than good because they were morally deficient. fast food companies deliberately create more rubbish for profit. They are also devoid of moral character because they aggressively target innocent children. They brainwash children through advertising and giving out toys. Stanford University research showed that children prefer food that came out of a McDonald's bag than a plain one. Heck, children even recognized Ronald McDonald before Jesus Christ. She then reminded us that the time had come for us all to quit clowning around without food and to start taking the food we eat seriously. Ray Kroc once said, "Look after the customer and the business will take care of itself." And sadly, they are no longer doing this. Thank you.
Adjudicator, chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Being the negative side, we totally disagree with today's motion. That is, we believe that fast food restaurants didn't bring much harm than good. Actually, fast food restaurants exist due to people's preference, the convenience it brought, and the importance of demand and supply. Therefore, we think that fast food restaurants are not responsible for bringing the harm. First, I would like to draw your attention to arguments made by the affirmative side. When the negative side mentioned about the convenience brought by the fast food restaurants, the negative side argued that people eat fast food restaurants and they die early as a result. But is it comparable? I bet not. Also, they said that children has no choice to make the judgment, but however, do their parents have a choice? I'm certain that the parents will make the best judgment for them. The affirmative side has mentioned about EPA's result, which they claim that fast food restaurants generate plastic waste due to instant bowls and cups. However, the restaurants other than the fast food restaurants provide plastic utensils. Do fast food restaurants solely provide environmental unfriendly utensils? I bet not. Indeed, Fairwood and Messams use renewable cups and dishes, which is beneficial to the environment. Another point is that fast food restaurants like McDonald's have contributed to the environmental industry indeed. So we shouldn't put the blame to the fast food restaurant due to their use of the instant utensils. The affirmative side has also mentioned that even if the whole world knows McDonald's, it cannot deny that there are still many fast food restaurants in the world. It is misleading to say that. We cannot use McDonald's as the representative to represent the whole fast food industry. So we cannot deny that there are more local fast food restaurants in the places worldwide. Let me summarize the points that my teammates has previously mentioned. People choose fast food restaurants due to their preference, and their functions is to cater people's needs. We can never deny this point. It is certain that people have freedom to choose better stuff on the menu. People can have balanced diets as well if they choose a better option in the menu. The negative side has provided a practical example for us that Joe D'Amico had McDonald's meal in the whole month, but it turned out to be he didn't gain weight, and he had outstanding performance than before. This has well proven that fast food restaurants are not as unhealthy as people imagine. Secondly, we cannot deny that there are numerous fast food restaurants in every conceivable corner in this hustle and bustle. Swarms of people queued up in the fast food restaurants to have lunch, and they choose this because of the convenience it brought. Another point is that fast food restaurants has a market share in the whole market as more and more fast food restaurants emerge in today's society. People love it because they have their tummy filled within a couple of minutes. So why blame fast food restaurants? In no doubt, fast food restaurants provide products that millions of people enjoy. Otherwise, if we did not choose fast food restaurants as our choice, they wouldn't exist in such a great demand. Therefore, today's motion must fall.